Hey, Tony Gaskins here, popping in. Now, I'm at soccer practice, so I didn't want to try to record and then upload. Then when I get home tonight, I want to be able to just look my wife in the face and talk her head off and not have to get home and film. So, wanted to pop on here and get this here live in to utilize my time because my son got another hour of practice and I'm in the CEO mobile so I could get some work done while he practicing. And on the way over here, my son told me about this thing he seen online where this young lady who is a OnlyFans girl did set some type of record where she slept with 1,000 guys in 24 hours. And he said they interviewed her at around after 700 men, and she looked like she was in Mars. And to think about a woman sleeping with 1,000 men in 24 hours, that lets you know the demonic state of our society. Like she's for sure demonic possessed, but every single man that slept with her also is demonically possessed. And then each person deals with several other people. So here goes the young lady with her demons. Then she's transferring her demons to all these other men. They demons coming together, mating, producing new demons. And not in the literal sense, but what I'm saying is these twisted spirits feeding off of each other. And then every single person who watched it, they opened a portal to the demonic. And one thing I'm going to tell you is curiosity killed a cat. No pun intended. Now, her curiosity killed her cat. But when I say curiosity killed the cat, I mean, can you imagine the amount of people that watched that? Or 100 or something like that. Look up the number. Okay, 100. And so here you think about this, that makes sense, 100, because I don't know, because when you think about it, 1,000, it's like, my goodness, we be done died, be done went in the anaphylactic shock. I was driving and went in the anaphylactic shock thinking about it. And so when you think about this, and let's see. This no, it's not 100, it's 1,000. I'm looking at it on here. Say Bonnie Blue claims world record by sleeping with 1,057 men in 12 hours. It's on the Daily Mail. Then this guy did a video. She's sleeping with 1,000 guys in 24 hours. And this one say from sleeping with 100 men in one day to 1,000. So no, it's 1,000. You got to trust the kids. This other lady, 1,000 men in 24 hours. So, yeah. OnlyFans model brave to sleep with 1,000. What did it say? Lily, 23, has set herself the target of breaking a world record by sleeping with 1,000 men in 24 hours. So don't y'all be in the comments loud and wrong in the comments loud and wrong. That's why you can't do no video now. Sleep with 1,000 men in less than a day. So yeah, think about it. Y'all forgive me. Had to get my little sneeze in. So think about that now. Y'all talking about 100 because you feeling it in your own body and you like, ain't nowhere in the world there was 1,000. But that right there is the state we in. Now guess what? If you got a daughter 18 and up, one of those 1,000 men gonna be after your daughter. These 1,000 men gonna want to get married to a woman, but yet they nasty enough to deal with a woman who will do that. And so you got to think about that, how nasty the world is. So you bump into somebody and yeah, this somebody else. You bump into somebody and they done did this here with the 1,000. This here just happened. But that's how the demonic works. And that's why it be fornicators on here in my comments who, Tony, why are you focusing on fornication? Because that's how the adversary is using sexual immorality to get into society. People talking about, oh, there's other sins. The adversary not using on the same scale. He's not using coveting and lying and the other sins the way he's using sexual immorality. And if you notice, sexual immorality, she's not mentally challenged, she's demonically possessed. Ain't nothing wrong with her mentally, and she's not special needs. That's a demon. This spiritual. Because the way, so you got to understand, see, spirits, they transfer and they transport. And the way these spirits work, because see, a lot of times people try to picture a demonic spirit and they picture this little short, burnt, melting skin demon with horns. That's a physical being, a physical representation that artists have drawn or put in movies. But a spirit, you can't see it. So the way these spirits transfer is, if you got a son or a daughter who got a cell phone and they got money and they could go get a gift card and sign up for OnlyFans, and they could get in there and go watch what this girl did, which a lot of y'all sons is doing right now. My son might have did it while he was on this here road trip or this senior trip, unless it just happened last night. Then that spirit just transferred to your teenager. Yo, you got to get that phone, be going through that Google, going through the history, going through all of that. And that's the goal. So although this young lady slept with 1,057 men, the spirit didn't just happen to or infect 1,058 people. Now those spirits finna infect every woman or man that these 1,057 men finna go sleep with. But it's also gonna impact the hundreds of thousands or the millions who took the time to go watch it. So that's why you got to realize, and that's why you have to be girded up. That's why you got to have on the armor of the Lord. That's why you got to be getting this knowledge. That's why you got to be slow when you moving in a relationship, and you got to take your time. That's why. Because you got to be able to see, and you got to have spiritual lenses on to be able to see. because it's getting real out here. So if you get desperate and you go to moving too fast, you'll be dealing with somebody who got a spirit on them, and you won't even know it because you desperate. You're moving too fast. But when you take your time and you okay taking 6 months, 9 months, 12 months to get to know somebody, now you know. Now you're able to see, something off with you. Because the crazy thing about it is, if you don't go watch what happened, which I wouldn't recommend it, because you're gonna be so sick to your stomach, so tore up from the floor up, broke, busted, and disgusted. But the next man you meet to date, she did it on OnlyFans. They say the next man you go to date might be one of the men that slept with this woman, and now he bringing her demonic spirit over to you, and the one he got in him. And this the thing. Let me look at this. Let me Google this. OnlyFans is worth 6.6 billion based on recent reports, with the platform generating a record-breaking 6.6 billion in gross volume, the amount fans paid to creators in 2023 alone. This the AI answer. So if that's what they generated, then they worth more than that. They worth 10x that. Now it's saying yeah. So this how nasty our society is. You got billions of dollars being paid to the OnlyFans creating $7 billion. Could have ended world hunger. These nasty men could have ended world hunger and spent $7 billion, and then be borrowing $1 from their situationship. Be asking their mama to help them pay the rent, but then they done gave $7 billion to sex workers. That's sad. That's sad. And that's why I tell you, don't ever loan a man money, because this what they doing with their money. The immature men. If you got a man, you know he immature, to where you might have to check his laptop. Don't give him $1. Go to work. Go and get your job, playboy, because you're sitting there nasty-handed on OnlyFans, nasty-handed, looking at angle lane. So really, you like men. And this is what's disgusting to me, to where I'm about to have to walk around fist bumping everybody. And that's the crazy thing. I had a friend made $100,000 in a week. Yeah, that's the craziness. So this is what you got to think about, and this is why it's becoming so ever important to do things God's way. And a lot of times people be out there, oh, why you focusing on fornication? Because that's how these unclean spirits are moving at such a rapid rate through sexual immorality. That's how it's being transported. And then what happens is people, what the adversary does is he gets you where you feel you need it the most. So you feel lonely, you feel horny, you feel desperate, desolate, you feel discouraged, you feel like God's way is old-fashioned and out of date, out of touch. So you want to do it the devil's way through fornication. And then when you fornicate, now you have an overwhelming sense of guilt. And now this guilt separates you from God. So now that you've separated from God, now you don't want to pray. You don't want to live right. You don't want to flee from sin. You don't want to do none of that because you feeling this guilt. And that right there is part of the problem. And so you got to take and you got to look at this and you got to start realizing what's happening to you. And as you start to process this, you're going to see, because think about it. You may find yourself in fornication, or you may know people find themselves in sexual sin, but they don't lie. They don't covet. They don't steal. They don't kill. So then what's the easiest thing to get us to separate us from the Savior, from the Creator? So that's why you got to focus on that and you got to attack that. And the thing about it is not just single people or people that's not married. It's also about those of us who are married, because we are also being tempted by fornication, which is adultery when you marry. And it's a lot of married people that's living sexually immoral. So you got to think about that. No, Candace, I didn't hear about that. But I am not surprised that that's out there happening. I was watching this thing the other day. My wife was watching this TV, and had the man who, him and his wife had like adopted, I don't know if it was her niece or somebody, or maybe it was her daughter, and he got with the lady since the young girl was 2 years old. So she saw the man like a father. And then they checked the laptop. So anytime I'm doing a video and you hear me say check his laptop, that's what I mean. He giving off that look. They checked his laptop and he had all kind of inappropriate pictures of his daughter. And the daughter was shocked. She was grown when she found out. She's shocked. The mom shocked. I think he ended up going to prison for some time. And you got to think about that. And that's why I try to tell you too, if you have a child, you got to be careful when you start dating. Because if you hear so many people say they don't want somebody who already got a child, and then you get with somebody who okay with you having a child, you have to take your time so that you can make sure and vet this person to make sure that they with you for the right reasons. Because if somebody takes and they go against the grain, so if everybody's saying they don't want somebody with a child, and then somebody take and they go against the grain and they say I'm cool with you having a child, it doesn't mean that you're unlovable or love can't happen for you. It means that you have to take your time. You got to take your time and use discretion and discernment to make sure that who you with is with you for you and for the right reasons, and not to get close to your child, which could be they fetish. And one thing I realized with women especially is women, when they have a child and that relationship don't work out, a lot of women get desperate. A lot of women get desperate and will just throw all caution out the window and bring another man into their life, and they got these children, and won't even fathom that this man could want to do something or be doing something to their children just because the man talking right. And that's how you got to be mindful. And it can happen the other way around as well. It's just not as common. And actually, I seen that. Just my wife showed me that today. 13-year-old girl was unalived by her uncle and impregnated by him in Detroit. He also had a previous history of violating young girls. And see, that's the thing. It's like, it's a lot of, but once again, right there, sexual immorality introduced another sin, murder. And that's what a lot of people, so that right there, and that's why we talking on this, and that's why I be trying to talk to y'all about this stuff, like even like the looks compatibility, the relationship, who you dating, who you dealing with, who you choosing, because all of that stuff matters. Because if you notice, think about it. For a lot of people, think about the people who actually take lives. So we always be focusing and talking about, different types of sins and all of this. But think about the people who take lives. A lot of times, somebody's life getting taken stems from sexual immorality. Like the people who are serial life takers, they be porn addicts. See, you're not thinking about it. A lot of men have lost their life from dealing with another man's woman. That woman was being sexually immoral. That man who was dealing with the woman was being sexually immoral. The other man, the husband or boyfriend or whoever found out, and then he went to extract vengeance and he took a life. But all right from sexual immorality. So you got to think about it, because here's the thing. And just like when you look at these movies and stuff, and you look at like the DC comics and the Marvel, them people, they be depicting real world, real life stuff. And so think about it. Anytime you watch one of these cartoons or one of these type of comic book movies with your child or yourself, what is the villain always trying to do? Destroy the world. He want to end the human race. How do you end the human race? Today, in our day and time, you disrupt it through sexual immorality. Because people going to catch STDs, marriage is going to be broken or not happening. People going to be serially single and sleeping around. It's going to be situationships. All of that. And that's the angle. And the reason why, because see, here's the thing. Sexual immorality is legal. And that's why the devil uses it. Forms of sexual immorality. What I mean by that is, fornication is legal. So it's legal for man, but it's a sin to God. So the adversary has us in a place to where our normal legal lives is illegal to God. So he has us complacently living separate from God. Because you can fornicate with anybody you want to, and it's not against the law. Adultery is also legal. You will not get put in prison. Now, it might mess up your divorce settlement or however that works, but you're not going to prison for adultery. So to sin against God, some sins are legal. And that's why the adversary uses sexual immorality instead of using murder. Because when you murder, you can go to jail, go to prison. When you take and you're missing the point, Nisha. When you take and you lie, even lying, if it's on the witness stand, that's perjury. You can go to jail. So you take and you look at this. That's why he used sexual immorality, because you free and legal. You free and legal. And so, although adultery is illegal, it's unpunished. So you get in, you don't go to jail for it. And that's what I mean. It's not that it's not against the law to cheat on your spouse. What I'm saying is you don't go to prison for it like you do with stealing, with murder, even lying, perjury. So that's where you have to think about that. So now you take, and sexual immorality leads to all other kind of sins. Leads to all kind of other sins. Tony, what do you think about the pastor having a young lady announce her pregnancy? He dumb. He just dumb. And just on a power kick. Because it's not our place to announce our sins to man. We confess our sins to the Lord. He dumb and need to be punched in the stomach, slapped in the face, uppercutted, then sat down in a pew to listen to a real man of God get up and talk. He just dumb. Because that right there, humiliation, could have made that young lady take her life. And so that's just ignorance. And if you know the pastor, tell him, I said it, that he's a dummy. And he need to sit his raggedy butt down, and he need to stand his sinning behind up there and confess all his sins up there, because his butt ain't perfect. And I know he dumb, and I know he not perfect to have a child doing something like that. That let me know he full of sin. Because when you full of sin, you want somebody else to tell about their sin. When you full of sin, you want somebody else to stand up and tell about their sin. It's been raining this whole day. This whole practice, my son finna get in here so soaking wet. I'm not happy about that. So that's the thing. That man called that young lady. I think I briefly heard about that, but I just don't be clicking everything. Unless y'all ask me to touch on it, I don't be clicking all that stuff. I be having too much to do. I don't be clicking all that. So you got to think about that. Yep. So start to process this. And when you sit with the Lord, one of the things, as soon as you wake up, you can take and start to, I muted on purpose, Nisa. You can take and just get the Bible out, turn it on. Just let it play. While you stretching, doing your push-ups, sit-ups, brushing your teeth, just let it play. Start to hear about the wiles of the earth. You start to hear about that stuff, and so that when you go out, you have now more discernment, because you already listened to what you should and should not do and how the devil move. So now you prepared. So be thinking about that and be prepared for it, because it's getting wild out here. It's getting real wild out here, and they're getting beside themselves. And see, what you got to realize is the test. That test always gonna get greater. And Michaela, if you got a question, you can ask it. I'm just talking though. So the test always gonna get greater. All right, Michelle, God bless you. So if you passing these levels and you keep slaying the devil on each level, there's a certain devil, a certain test that it's going to take a lot. It's going to take actual prayer and supplication. And what happens is the real test that is intended to knock you off your walk, it's never blatant. It never just come at you. So a man not just gonna come up to you and be like, hey, I want to fornicate with you. I want to fornicate with you and separate you from the Lord and be a distraction to you on your walk with the Lord. He's not gonna do that. He's gonna come up and he may be a married man, so that you take and you drop your guard and say, well, he married, we can't do nothing. And he may just be talking to you about business, just all business. And I noticed this with certain women. A lot of times, if a woman want to get close to me, or if she want to sleep with me, she'll keep mentioning my wife. Mentioning my wife, mentioning my wife, mentioning my wife. Whereas the women who don't have any intentions, they know it's no need to mention my wife because they don't feel any type of way. They don't have a plan of trying to do or say anything, so they don't mention my wife because they understand I'm a professional doing business and it's no need for my wife to be in this conversation. My wife minding her business, so why are we talking about my wife when we supposed to be talking about this here book or this here business or this here whatever? But it's always a red flag for me when a woman keep mentioning my wife. And I'm like, do you have a guilty conscience? Like, why do you keep mentioning my wife? Like, I'm a professional. My wife is grown. My wife not worried about you. My wife taken care of. She laid up and shade up, paid up. Ain't played up. Ain't got to stayed up. Ain't dealing with no cockroaches, so ain't got to get her raid up. So she's sitting there, and I was talking to my wife, and she was like, yeah, I could tell this girl right here like you. I could tell this woman right here like you. She like, but I ain't worried about that. Because she already know how I move. She know I got too much to lose. She know I love the Lord too much. She know our whole life is from the blessings and the favor and the grace of the Lord. She know I'm not finna mess that up for no little 30-second squirrel. She already know that. It's like, it's going to have to be a crazy, 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 crazy test for me to even consider it. But then, because I'm talking to the Lord all day, every day, I already know it's going to come certain tests to where I'm going to have to be in prayer and supplication, where I'm going to have to be fasting. I'm going to have to go deeper than normal. And so you have to understand that, because I'm always dealing with people who, women who come and they say, they'll be like, they'll come and bring something up, and I have to look and say, okay, what is this here angle? What's this here angle? And when it get to that place, I'm looking and I'm seeing that we all get tested. And I always hear women a lot of times coming to me and coaching, and they be like, Tony, I failed. I went to, I was a year, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years abstinent. And then I lost my abstinence. And the reason being is because in the time of peace, you were not preparing for war. In a time of peace, you got to prepare for war. Meaning, when everything going good and you winning, you got to think about the test and the battle that could make you lose. So you can't just take and look and say, oh, I'm winning. I got all this power. I got all this strength. Everything going good. You got to look and say, who can tempt me? What can tempt me? And then when you think about that and you process that, then you say, okay, Lord, show me the way of escape, so that when this right here tempt me, then I know how to escape. And so, and fun, the thing about that is, that's the point. The married man not gonna come on to you. The one that come to knock you off, he's not going to come on to you. He's just gonna be talking to you. That's just gonna be your coworker. That's just gonna be your colleague, and he might do that for a year, 2, 3 years, to where you completely drop your guard. And one day, something, boom, out of nowhere. Or it'll be a single man who acting like he not interested. And so that's the thing. He was married 21 years and cheated. Now moved on so quickly to someone else. He was been done. He been done. That's why he moved on. He been done for 19 years. I just hold it on. Hey, God bless y'all for them blessings I see right there. God bless you. Welcome to the new member. God bless you though. So yeah, you got to be prepared for it. So, because I know the games that the men play who do what I do. So I be mindful and thinking about the games that women will play. And what you got to realize is the adversary wants you. So he's gonna keep testing. Gonna keep testing, and keep trying. So you got to be mindful of that. To know that it's gonna keep going up. It's gonna keep going up. So think about this. If you missed our masterclass, it was 4 hours. Some good Q&A in there. A little motivation, inspiration. It's on TonyGassacademy.com. This is my year 2025. That's on there as well. TonyGassacademy.com. You'll see that. Today's video was released at nighttime because it's a nighttime exercise. So if you're in the course, you could log in and do that prompt for tonight. Can God use spiritual warfare to help you see areas where you still need to heal in? No, Blanca. The Bible says God tempts no man. But whatever the devil does, then God can use what the devil does. What the devil meant for evil, he'll turn it into good, if that's what you mean. So spiritual warfare are going to come upon everybody. And we have to pray to God for wisdom, knowledge, understanding, discernment, discretion, strength, boldness, faith, peace. And that's how we turn what was meant for evil into good. And that's how that's going to help you. But God does not tempt us. Now, he will allow the devil to tempt us in certain seasons. Like he allowed the devil to do what he did to Job. But God knew Job was faithful. And for his faithfulness, God blessed him with double on the other side. So whenever you tempt it, whenever you test it, whenever your weakness, the thing that you fail over and over and over and over, be mindful of that. And know that this test is to block your double portion. So if you keep falling into the same sin traps over and over and over, you keep derailing your double portion. So what you got to get to the point, to the place, is that you start to laugh in the face of trials and tribulation. That you start to laugh in the face of these things, so that you come to a place to where you looking at this thing and you like, whoa, hold on now. Hold on, now, thank you, now. Thank you, devil, for trying me, because now you just showed your hand. You just showed me that you think I'm worthy, that you think I'm blessed, that you think I'm favored, that you think that I am set apart, and that God gonna use me. Thank you for this test. Thank you for bringing this wolf in sheep's clothing. Thank you for testing me on a level like I've never been tested before, because you just tip your hand and you just let me know that God about to get something to me. He about to take me to another level because of this test. So you got to embrace it. You got to embrace it. Michaela, African spirituality is just, people who don't know God. They have their own gods. They don't know the God of Jesus Christ. They have their own gods. But I don't believe in nothing. Especially if you into African spirituality and you got to be barefoot. If you got to be barefoot with no clothes on and stuff like that, and living in an impoverished land, I'm finna be looking for me a new god. I'm not finna be out there all that right there, and I'm still broke, busted, and disgusted. No sir, it ain't about money or nothing, but it's just about peace and abundance and favor and just coming through. So yeah, I don't believe in nothing that don't work. You just doing it just to be doing it. No, I got to know the Lord is real, that the Lord hear me. So yeah, I do not mess with that African spirituality. Like Lucola said. She say, I'm African born and raised. Do not involve yourself with that. It has nothing to do with our Lord Jesus Christ. It's all about ancestors. Yeah, don't mess with it now. You got to remember the devil everywhere now. The devil everywhere. So God's want to take another level. Pray for rain for Los Angeles fire, but in public, not in my prayer closet, which is more comfortable for me. But why am I so nervous? Well, Candace, you got to go to the Bible. And so now in the Bible, I don't know where God tell us to pray public, because it specifically say don't pray in public, but to go into your prayer closet. So see, you always got to refer to the Bible now. So God not calling you to do something that the Bible don't say do. Because if you pray in public for something, that's for edification for man. And man can't do nothing for you. So you praying online or outside on the street corner like the Pharisees did, that ain't got nothing to do with God. God gonna hear you, but just because you praying for the fires in LA, everybody praying for that. And so what's gonna be done. It could have been somebody praying when Sodom and Gomorrah started burning up. But what's gonna be done. And so what we have to pray is that God's will is done. And that after natural disasters happen, that God's will be done, that people find God through tragedy, that people find God and draw closer to God and start to learn and know what really matters, because it's always a lesson in everything, no matter what it looks like. So even with it's so many people losing their homes, but the Bible tell us, don't store up your treasures on earth, where rust and moth and tarnish, but to store up your treasures in heaven. And so that's where the peace of the Lord starts to come in, because people will start to realize, like, whoa, I put my whole life and my whole trust and everything into something that could be burned up in the fire. But the one thing that can't be burned up in a fire is a heart for Christ, because it'll spend eternity with God in heaven. And that's a painful lesson. And a lot of times the lessons feel insensitive, because when the man came to Jesus and Jesus said, hey, pick your stuff up and follow me. And the man said, Jesus, Rabbi, Messiah, whatever he called him, he said, let me bury my father, then I'll join you. And Jesus said, let the dead bury their dead, and you follow me. And see, really think about that though. When you really think about, if you've lost a parent, or you've lost a friend, or you've lost anything, how would you feel if Jesus said, I need you to open this church, or I need you to go to this city, or I need you to do this, or I need you to do that, and you say, hold on, let me bury my loved one that just died, and he said, let the dead bury their dead, and you follow me? You'll be like, hold on, man, what's you trying me? Who you think you is, man? Don't tell me not to do this and not do that for my loved one. But he was talking about the dead spiritually. He was talking about the dead who don't know God. Like, let them do their thing. We got work to do over here. And that's the thing, is where when I really came to that place, I started to detach from the world. When I started to really understand eternity, I stopped getting caught up in the things of today. I stopped getting caught up in those things, and I started to realize that God always make a way. And I started the process, because see, you got to know that just because you don't want it to happen don't mean it's not going to happen. So just because I never want to lose a loved one to death don't mean that just because I don't want it, it's not going to happen, because I know death is a part of life. So what I have to do is I have to know, I got to be preparing for when it does happen. How do I move forward? So you got to think about that. And really start to shift your mindset and really ask yourself, what do I really want? What do I really want? And do I understand what really matters? Am I pursuing the things of this world, or am I pursuing the things of my Heavenly Father? And then you start to detach. And you start to get to that place like, okay, all right, let me see. Let me do and believe and work the way I know I need to. So, and think it not strange what we see happening, what we just witnessed in Florida, because I'm a Florida boy, and now what we witnessing in California. It does not mean that the end of the world is here. But when you start to see things happen that are far worse than you've ever seen, that should be a sign to draw near. That should be a sign to start getting things in order spiritually in your walk with the Lord, because you never know. No man knoweth the day nor the hour, but there will be signs. But what you also have to realize is that 1,000 years is likened unto one day unto the Lord. So we've been seeing last day type of signs for thousands of years. Because when you read the Bible, they were talking like they was in the last days. They talking like the Lord about to come back right then. And we still having the same conversation. So that's why you got to remember 1,000 years is likened unto one day unto the Lord. So it may, your entire life, your entire existence may look like it's the end of the world. But think about it. When have somebody come over to your house and men come to your front door and knock on your door and say, "Hey, Eleanor, tell the men to come outside so we can have sex with them"? When have men come to your door and knock on your door and tell you to tell the men in your house to come out so that they can have sex with them? If that happened, you will be like, it's the end of the world. That happened in the Bible, in the Old Testament. So what exactly? So it always been bad. The devil always been busy. So that's why you got to stay ready, so you don't have to get ready. You got to stay ready, because you never know the day nor the hour. You never know. And guess what? When the men went, they were when the men went, it was two angels. I'm gonna change that translation. So it's they shouted to Lot, "Where are the men who came to spend the night with you? Bring them out to us so we can have sex with them." This Genesis 19. It's Genesis 19. Think about that now. Think about that. So we seeing different signs today. But in the book of Genesis, these men went to Lot though and say, "Where the men who came over here to stay the night with you? Bring them men out here so we can have sex with them." Imagine that happening right now at your door. You will fall out. What in the world? So when I see this right here, this stuff that's going on in California, it is gut wrenching. It's heart wrenching. It is just like, whoa. This is unreal. This is unreal. Like, you can't wrap your head around it. But it's chastising me, and I'm not even in it. And see, but here's the thing. is the adversary will bring catastrophe to separate you from God. Because can you imagine the amount of people who, when they go through tragedy, they curse God? They forget everything that Job went through and never curse God and what he received on the other side. And they will curse God when they go through tragedy. And so I came to the place to where I started to say, you know what? I will never question God. Whatever happens, happens. I will never question God. Instead, if I'm going to question God, I'm going to say, Lord, show me what you need me to see. Not, Lord, why did you do this? But Lord, show me what you want me to see. Show me what you want me to get from this. Show me that. And see what Devin said, right? A black man was on the news and said that God didn't care about him because the house next to his was not damaged. And what he didn't realize is God could have let that happen to him to get him a new house. That a billionaire could have seen him on the news and said, I'm going to rebuild your house because I saw you on the news. And God could have turned that billionaire, who could have been of another race and could have been racist or prejudiced in the past, could have had them feeling guilt for how they done treated black people or seen black people, and they could have reached out to that man and said, I want to rebuild you a house. But because he allowed the adversary to make him hate God, to make him mad with God, he derailed his blessing. Because you know how people come to your aid when you on the news and you have hardship. Your GoFundMe go crazy. But see, that's the goal of the adversary, to separate us, to make us angry with God. So, hey, think about this and start getting in your word every day that you can, every day, get in that word and go a little deeper. Start going a little deeper. So you start to realize and see the tricks and the wiles of the world, of the adversary. But hey, this Tony Gaskins, God bless you. And shout out to my amazing supporters with my boy summer camp through the Tony Gaskins Family Foundation. That has been on my heart, and I am working on that every single day. And I sure thank y'all for your support. Every time that I think about it and I try to remember, I'll take and put that in the chat. So think about what we got to do, and don't be afraid to start your own mission and get out here and try to touch lives. But God bless you, and we'll talk soon.